This is Young Gun, a podcast about Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. I'm Demetri and Lauren, a Bama grad. She is Lauren Brownlow, the biggest Panthers fan I know, and we are talking about the team with a microscope on the new franchise quarterback. And Lauren, we get to do it with a smile on our faces for the first time since the regular season began.
I mean, listen, it was a journey, though, to get there.
It was.
Not trying to sound ungrateful here. Not lest I be considered ungrateful, however, at nearly every turn where it seemed like the Panthers could take control fully of the game or get in the lead for some of it at all, you're sitting here like, okay, now this will work out, right? Like this has to work out. Then all of a sudden they make it 10 times more difficult than it has to be over and over and over again. And so by the end of that game, basically people were like, you okay? Because I've been going through it. I was going through it. And all I could think of, it is Halloween after all. Sure. And this is my favorite horror movie of all time. And I think the best, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. At the end, when this girl, the final girl, right?
Right.
So that's, horror trope, but she's in the car in the back of this pickup truck, finally managing to escape against all odds. And she's just covered in blood and laughing maniacally. That was literally me by the end of that game.
So I do need to ask, just to make sure everybody watching on Origin Sports or watching on YouTube in the appropriate time frame could see you are wearing black lipstick.
Well, yeah.
You have what have been throughout October, your standard slasher earrings.
Yes.
Is this purely for Halloween, or is this a bit of emo Lauren working through it?
I mean, a little of A and B, probably. Although I will say, I just love horror movies any time of year, and so that's it. Halloween gives me an excuse to kind of lean into the dark side. Wait, not your dark side, nerd.
That's so mean.
I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, I heard myself say it. I was like, Lauren.
We're supposed to be best friends.
I'm just saying that dark side.
Yes,
not
I got
the
you.
Star Wars one.
I got you. You know what? I'm going to play so much My Chemical Romance under you every time you speak during this episode. That will. All right.
It's fine. It's deserved. Give me some Evanescence at least or something.
Oh, God. All right. Let's go right to our question. You know what? You lead the episode, so just hurt my feelings.
I'm so sorry.
Was Bryce Young too short this week?
No. Well, he
but
got one ball batted, but it ended up being on a play that didn't count.
Wait a minute. He got how many balls batted?
Just one.
And CJStroud had how many balls batted?
More than one.
That's right.
More than one for that big, tall boy. What happened there? I thought that was only for short people.
4 balls batted at the line of scrimmage. Our friend Josh Graham had a great...
That's Baker Mayfield-esque.
It was. He had a great tweet, and it was what you said to me, and it was dead on. Like, it is hard to imagine what Panthers Twitter's reaction would be if Bryce Young had that many balls batted down at the line of scrimmage, particularly that segment of Panthers Twitter that still pines for CJStroud.
Or if he'd played it the way he did, which was like fine. It wasn't horrible or anything, but it wasn't like I was expecting to be blown away by this completely special rookie that's worlds better than Bryce Young. And it turns out that, people in football still have lazy discourse and they don't bother to actually watch, I guess. Or maybe to be fair, I haven't watched Houston, so I don't know. So that's partly why this myth had been built up before me of this dude that's killing it. And I'm looking around and I'm like, man, look at how much time he has to throw the football. That must be nice. I wonder if Bryce watches that and goes, and gets jealous a little bit.
Well, listen, we are going to circle back on the lazy rookie quarterback discourse a little bit later on in the episode. But, CJStroud had a play for the Texans' only touchdown of the game, which was a heads-up play. He went where he could fit, and he scored a touchdown basically underneath his right guard. I saw that and thought, man, if Bryce did that in a game, that would be a GIF forever amongst a certain segment of Panthers fans, just scampering under like a little mouse.
Right, exactly. No, I know. And also against a winless team.
Yeah.
Imagine if the Panthers played another winless team and Bryce played kind of pedestrian, people would be roasting him.
Yeah.
And I get it. I understand. But yeah, look, the defense played well too, which was nice because that hadn't always been the case the last couple weeks. They're clearly getting healthier, and that's really good to see.
I want to go to the play before that here in just a second. Before that Texans touchdown, I do have to tell you about our friends at Graffiti. They are the perfect place to watch football Sunday nights, Monday nights, Thursday nights, whenever you want to watch pro football. 158 East Cedar Street in downtown Cary. They've got 19 TVs, and if you are watching football with them on Sundays, chance to win weekly prizes. Great specials on beer as well as bourbon pours. Blanton's at $10, Eagle Rare and Angel's Envy at $9, McKenna 10-year, Heaven Hill 7-year, and Buffalo Trace at $8. They had a hell of a Halloween party this past weekend. Yeah. There's always something cool happening at Graffiti.
The winners from Star Trek were, I think they were the winners, either that or they placed. I was like, man, that guy looks exactly like the man whose name I can't remember. Picard?
It was Picard and Reichert, right?
Yeah.
Were the two.
But the Picard guy, I was like, whoa. Okay.
Yeah, it was. It's always a good time at Graffiti. Check them out if you've not already done so for a football Sunday. All right, Lauren, let's talk about your sweet, sweet FrankiLuvu. We devote so much time to my beautiful boy Bryce. FrankiLuvu not only had himself a day. He had himself a day in front of his mom.
It was the first time I don't know if it was this year or ever.
No, they said ever? First time ever, at least since he's been in the NFL.
Okay, that's fine. I'm okay. I'm good.
12 tackles, 3 for loss, including a sack. I mean, he just had. So here's why I said I wanted to go back to the play before the Texans touchdown, because he single-handedly, I think, was the force that stopped that touchdown.
Yes.
And watching this team all season, all you could think was, oh, well, of course, they're just going to get it on 4th down.
Exactly. I'm so used to that, but it's still like he goes so hard all the time.
Of course,
like all the time. His motor is turned up to 100. He's been banged up the last couple weeks, and you haven't seen him make as much of an impact. I think the defense has suffered as a result of that, to be honest. And now that he's clearly back to health, or at least as close to that as you can get during an NFL season, it's so good to see. I love him. I love him so much. He's adorable.
And he played.
I mean
in
that
this
like
game.
As a compliment, not like as a he's not scary. Or...
Yeah, he played in this game like a way we don't see. I think defenders play, and this is modern football. This is not a comment on the Panthers. This is not a comment on FrankiLuvu. The overwhelming majority of his tackles were solo tackles in the open field. Like, you just don't see that often anymore.
No, you're right. Yeah, and he just was like, it was like he was everywhere. It's like every time a play was made, it was like, oh, FrankiLuvu. It's like, that's awesome. I was so excited to see that.
Can we talk about the bridge between our two favorite players in this game?
Okay.
Luvu was awarded a game ball by FrankReich.
Oh, okay. I did see this because initially when the game balls came out after the game, to have Frankie not have one, I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care who has to not get one at that point. Like, I get why Eddie Piñero got one, even though he missed the extra point. I'll forgive him a little bit. He had some funny comments after the game. He's back in my good graces for now. But don't go all Graham Gano on me in the future, sir. Okay? Thank you.
Thomas Brown got one as his first game as a play caller. And then what came out on Twitter
Bryce got one.
Was that Bryce got one. And look, I will tell you, he was not one of the 3 best players for the Panthers in this game, but I understand why you give your rookie quarterback leading his first game-winning drive a game ball.
Yes.
Turns out FrankReich is not the one that gave him that game ball.
Yeah.
It came from FrankiLuvu.
That was like, I mean, are you kidding me? Like, how is he real?
Yeah.
How is he a real person? I love him so much. Chuba could have used one as well. Just FYI. But look, I mean, it's a game ball. It's not like, the MVP of the NFL. Like, it's fine, but still.
But it is a tip of the hat.
It's very nice.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, if you are watching us tonight on Origin Sports, we certainly appreciate it. It's a fun partnership we have. And by the way, totally my fault we were not on Origin last week. Technically, I need to get better at this podcast. But if you are...
You're trying.
I do my best.
I know.
If you are listening to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform or watching on YouTube, please make some time to join us next Tuesday on Origin Sports, where we air at 7 p.m. Lauren, something caught my attention in this game that probably did not catch yours. I genuinely wonder if we had some sort of record going on in this game, because
probably not.
Across these 2 rosters, we had 8 former Bama players and a former Bama player as a head coach.
I I mean, maybe the head coach part as well would like,
That's
tip it
certainly,
over
that's
a
certainly
little
the
bit.
oddity of it all.
However, I actually don't. I bet you that's not a record of combined. I mean, that's just. I mean, everywhere you look around,
sure,
right? Especially in Georgia lately too. It's like everyone's from Georgia and Alabama. So I mean, I would imagine that there's probably been more, but maybe not with a head coach as well.
Right. For the Panthers, it is BryceYoung, Bradley Bozeman, Deontay Brown, and LeBrian Ray. Deontay Brown on the practice squad, but technically on the roster. Texans had WillAnderson, Henry To'oTo'o, John Mechie, Christian Harris, and then, of course, their head coach is D'Amico Ryans. They took a picture after the game, and I thought that this was interesting. Bradley Bozeman was not in the picture. Deontay Brown was not in the picture. Deontay Brown obviously was not dressed, so he was not in the picture. Bradley Bozeman considerably older than those other guys, so he's not sort of the same group. D'Amico Ryans, I think it probably would have been inappropriate for a head coach to jump into that picture, but also considerably older, which, like Robert Smith and, forgive me, who's called? Oh, Brandon Gaudin. I texted Lauren this. I know this didn't bother anybody else, but like we did have football before Nick Saban got there. It wasn't always great at times. A lot of times it was.
I was going to say, you sure you want people to remember that? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
D'Amico Ryans did not play for Nick Saban. And
there's only been Bear Bryant and Nick Saban.
That's true. Or if you're around my age, like you can appreciate Gene Stallings, but only those three.
Okay.
Yeah, like multiple times, Robert Smith was talking about what D'Amico Ryans learned from Nick Saban, and the answer is nothing.
Yeah, I was. I will say, even before you text me, I was kind of like, I don't know. He played a while ago.
No, see, this is why it stands out, because D'Amico Ryans got drafted in one of those years where you look at from what schools and you're like, Alabama only had one dude drafted. That's crazy.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Hard to believe. WillAnderson, by the way, much like me, too much Bama in him, still helping out his quarterback when necessary.
It was so nice.
With a timely offsides play.
He sacked him once, right?
He did.
And I was like, sir.
Didn't he sack him twice and one got called back because of someone else being offsides?
That sounds right.
I want to say this was what stood out to me.
Leave him alone. I'm just kidding.
This is what stood out to me in a season where we have talked a lot about discipline getting in the Panthers' way, particularly for those that are not listening regularly. Lauren Brownlow harping on discipline on the special teams. The special tems was excellent.
Yeah, after the first play, which almost made me throw my remote into the sun. With the holding call on the kickoff.
Yeah.
Like seriously, you are winless. You are coming with I'm trying to remember. The bye wasn't last week, right?
It was last week.
I thought so. I was like, wait, it was, right?
Yeah.
You're coming off a bye.
Right.
And the first play you do that and back your offense up to the 10. I'm sitting here like, you are testing me today. Y'all are going to test me all. And Lord knows they did. They said,
they tested you for the first quarter and a half, really. They couldn't get outside of like, well, I guess we're starting at our own 5 again.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, as much optimism as people have around CJStroud, as often as Dameon
Pierce,
some
nice weapons for sure.
He does, and Dameon Pierce was breaking off some big runs.
Yeah, they had a dude named Tank who weighs 165 pounds and is not a punter, which is something I don't think I've ever seen in the maybe a DB.
Yeah,
but like to get hit, like to have being hit as your like part of your job.
Yeah,
and be that. So I'm like, I was just in awe. I'm like, what?
Wasn't Darren Sproles that kind of small?
I don't think he was like that light though.
Oh, that's true.
165?
Yeah.
That's really light.
By the way, that Tank Dell.
Tank Dell. I did enjoy the name and the aesthetics of it all.
Also, like there is a
But I was also like, please don't let this tiny man run all over you. Are you serious right now? You all are 200 and something pounds.
There is a little bit of a like, oh, you adorable little fella thing to his story because he's from Houston.
Right.
He went to the University of Houston and he was drafted by the Texans.
At least in the first half, they're using him in interesting ways.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure.
So, yeah.
It's interesting. It is almost the way that Ryan Leaf talked about the Panthers should use Laviska Shenault. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But I did want to point out, as much as we get frustrated about the penalties with Carolina, the discrepancy was insane in this game. 10 for 70 yards on the Texans versus 3 for 20 on the Panthers.
God, only 3? I feel like I remember all of them. Right. Because like one of them was a hold, I feel like, that wiped out something great. Yeah. And I'm like, really with this. And so, yeah, but no, that's a really big improvement, obviously, especially when you get one on the opening kickoff to only end up with
For
3.
sure.
And for them to have 10 for 70, like I was just relieved to see other teams being the ones to screw up and prolong our drives instead of vice versa. You know what I mean? Like it was just nice to have some help, a little more help, I feel like, from the opponent. We've gotten some help from the opponent, I guess, but not quite as much as yesterday. So thank you.
Not nearly enough in literally every game until this one. I mentioned the midweek talk through episode of this show that comes out each and every Thursday. Our past guests have included people with some unique experiences in the NFL that translate directly to what the Panthers are going through. We also talk to people that watch the games just like us. This week, Bomani Jones, our buddy, is my guest, just relaunched his podcast through Wave Sports and Entertainment. I asked him, Lauren, he does not have, even though he shares a company with Travis Kelce, has no extra insight that the rest of us do not on Travis and Taylor. And in my house, that is very big topic of conversation.
Oh, I understand. I did a deep dive on Taylor Swift this past weekend, so I feel like I'm caught up, except for on like the goings on in her personal life. That's where I'm still extremely behind. Like I don't.
I told Joe Ovius that he and I need to record a full track by track evaluation of 1989 Taylor's version.
I would do that
because it is straight. I mean, it's now the original 1989.
Oh,
I think it's a perfect pop album.
Yes,
and so
100%.
And so the Taylor's version, I flew to Ohio this weekend. It might have been the only thing that played in my headphones the entire time.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. Believe me.
All right. So the midweek talk through each and every Thursday, same places you get this show, unless you are watching on Origin Sports. Lauren, you mentioned this earlier. I think the question has to be asked because we have very good listeners that are our friends, listeners that will do the things that we don't always have time to do. Somebody needs to look up and find out if Eddie Piñero is the first person to get a game ball in the same game where he missed an extra point.
I actually think that he probably is not only not the first, but maybe not even the first Panther, because you know who used to miss extra points a lot randomly? Graham Gano. Like he'd nail like a 57-yard field goal and then he'd hook an extra. And I'm like, I'm sorry, sir, what's happening here?
Right.
Like that was so frustrating because and this was before too, they made him a little tougher. And it was like, dude, please don't. But anyway, yeah, I mean, so probably not even the first Panther.
Very fair.
To do that, because a lot of times Graham Gano was getting the only points they ever had.
So I'm glad you bring that up. Now, for people who this might be their first episode of the show, I am a Panthers fan for as long as BryceYoung is their starting quarterback. Lauren Brownlow has been down with the team since day one. She lives and dies with this team, which means she has risen from the grave multiple times.
A lot of times.
How do you feel? I mean, look, this team needed a win, and the first win of the season, when you're this deep into the season, you take it however it comes to you. But how do you feel about winning mostly on field goals?
Oh, I don't care. I will say this. I was mad about the missed extra point more so than I normally would have been.
Right.
Because at that point in the game, I had been literally begging them to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
They had come close, too close, and then messed it up. And I'm like, please, like teams do it every day. Can you please just take the ball into the goal line area for 6 points? I'm begging you.
Here's the other part of that too, is as much as the Texans seem to be on an upswing, there's still the Houston Texans. Like was, you and I probably had the same thought, even though I don't think we texted this back and forth. Like that missed extra point could have been the difference in the game.
Oh, 100%.
And it was going to be if Piñero missed the field
goal. It literally was. Yeah. Like it was, I was annoyed even more so because it was like the catharsis of finally getting a touchdown.
Right.
Somebody compared the Carolina Panthers, like they pointed out that the Panthers are cats to me. I think it was Jameson on Twitter. I just cracked me up because he like sent me gifs of cats like knocking stuff off the counter. And that's essentially what that was the Panthers doing to me in that moment, missing the extra point. It's like, oh, you like that touchdown? Yeah. All right, I'm going to knock off your favorite vase and shatter it everywhere.
This was...
hope you like that.
This was the best opponent to have that kind of game against because the numbers offensively were not great. I mean, we're still talking about the Panthers now. This is still a team that only picked up 3.7 yards per play.
Let me tell you, in the second half, there was a long stretch of time there where I thought they would not get another first down.
Yes, agreed. Fortunately, the Texans only had about 4.1 yards per play, so that really never gave them the opportunity to put distance. I want to give Chuba Hubbard all the credit in the world But man, they still are not getting very many yards on the ground. 1.8 yards per carry, but more than that, the total number of yards was somewhere in the area of like 45 for this game.
Yeah.
And because of
even so, here's the thing though. I hear you on that and you're right.
Yeah.
However, how often did Chuba compared to MilesSanders when he got the ball on first down? How often was he able to get like 3 or 4 yards?
Agreed.
And that's the thing. It makes a big difference.
And there was a fourth down play that they went for that they started Chuba a little bit further back, and that gave him the opportunity to build up a real head of steam.
Yeah,
running in. And I don't think that was a matter of Thomas. Well, Thomas Brown's a running back. He understands how this works better than FrankReich. Like I saw that happen. It was like, why have we not been doing that? Like when Chuba Hubbard is in,
he looks mad. He looked like he looks like you know how like when they're running the bulls or whatever, or when there's like a bullfighting. I don't know. I've never been to Spain. Whatever. But like they're getting the bulls all mad like behind the fence, and then it reminded me of that. It was like he was just charging, and he just laid it all out there. Like he and FrankiLuvu, it's similar in this way. You just see two guys that like are doing everything in their physical power to win you a football game. You know what I mean? And that is what I think endears them so much to me when guys play like that. Both of them played like that, and I've seen a lot of that out of both of them all season, and that's why I'm very happy to see more of them and hope we continue to.
Lauren Brownlow, have you looked at the box score for this game?
No.
Okay.
No, God, no.
Who had the second most carries for the Panthers?
Blackshear?
BryceYoung.
Oh, well.
15 for Chuba.
He had some
4
nice,
for Young.
That was the other thing. He had a few nice, like, scrambling / running moments when he had more than a second and a half.
Yeah.
After the play started.
All right. Number 3. If Bryce was number 2,
okay,
Blackshear was number 3.
Yeah.
With 3 carries.
That's what oh, wow. I felt like they got him the ball in the pass game as well, too, though. So maybe that's what I was. And then also he had some really nice returns. So I was happy with that as well. I'm like, imagine that.
So
positive yardage on returns.
So here's my question for you. MilesSanders had 2 carries. MilesSanders was not targeted on a screen in the backfield.
I'm terrible. Yeah.
Laviska Shenault was out for this game.
Right.
What happens when Laviska comes back
to
MilesSanders? You're paying him a lot of money, and you and I both agree that doesn't mean you have to give him X number of carries if he's not producing.
No, sorry you missed on it. It doesn't mean you have to.
Does Dave Tepper believe that?
I don't care.
I mean, I care because his opinion is the only one of the 3 of us that matters.
I know. He got booed.
Yes, he did.
I wasn't not happy to see that.
How do you, by the way, on the day that Sam Mills is going into the Ring of Honor, have that ceremony include booze? Only Dave Tepper.
Yeah. No, literally.
I want to make this clear. I'm not blaming the fans. I'm saying Dave Tepper has to know better than be on the field.
That's the thing. Like, well, no, he doesn't, because he thinks like we all, again, you know what he thinks of us. He thinks we are all dumb. Hopefully he's learning.
Well, fingers crossed.
But I get what you're saying about the money and whatever. That's cool. If I'm the coach, I just go back and go, okay, you want to, I mean, do you like all the losing? Because that's something we can get back to.
Look, Washington did it when Robert Griffin III was not better than Kirk Cousins. Seattle did it when they paid all that money to Matt Flynn and Russell Wilson overwhelmed them.
That was so funny.
Camp that year. I mean,
I forgot about the Matt Flynn contract. Oh boy, I needed a little laugh today.
By the way, was that contract the way you think most football fans realized? Oh, these contracts mean nothing. Because didn't they cut him?
Yeah, they ended up cutting him. I mean, you get us like, I think that's how everybody realized, like, okay, you actually need to like have guaranteed money in it, or else it doesn't matter.
They're meaningless. Yeah. Please take the time to like and subscribe to this show wherever it is you are consuming it. On YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is. When you take time to leave us a review, and look, we're not Ovius and Giglio. I'm not afraid of the bad reviews. Be honest. But if you want to give us 5 stars, give us 5 stars.
Shots fired.
Well, listen, if you're making fun of me for enjoying Star Wars.
Right, I made fun of you, not them.
Well, no, that's fine. I mean, I'm not afraid of them. I'm a little afraid of them. But anyway, take the time to like and subscribe and leave a comment too. That tells the algorithm that Young Gun is something it should be suggesting to other football fans, and that helps more people find the show and helps us get to do more episodes. All right, Brownlow. It was the much anticipated number 1 versus number 2 matchup. And by the way, like we totally overlooked this last week. Totally forgot that pick number 3 was in this game too.
Well, he plays on defense.
Yeah,
so no one cares.
So it doesn't matter. Number one.
Somehow he's the one that has the least impact on,
right.
on the quarterback battle, although he literally can.
Yes.
Whatever.
Number one versus number two.
Yeah.
There was another quarterback that went before Will Levis, but based on the regular talking points of quarterback conversations, I believe we are obligated now to call Will Levis the best rookie quarterback.
Isn't that how it goes?
In the NFL? 19 of 28 for 238 yards and 4 touchdowns as Levis leads the Titans over the Falcons 28-23. I mean, look, you do have to tip your hat because all the things.
It was a cool moment for him.
Not only was it a cool thing for him, like I watched him a lot at Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And watching him at Kentucky, I found myself wondering when the draft process started, what are all these people talking about?
Yeah, I'm with you on that, to be honest, whenever I watched him, which was probably not as much as you even, but I was just like, I don't get it.
I mean, he was good. He was good at Kentucky.
Yeah,
he was not, you had to be a fool or just desperately wanting a white quarterback to go in round one to think that he was on par with certainly Bryce and CJStroud. I also, by the way, to be fair, don't know what people saw in Anthony Richardson.
I didn't either.
I think he will be good with the NFL season.
Those were the two that I was like, please don't draft those two. Like, that was my only thing.
Yeah.
And, I get what people see in Anthony Richardson, and that's fine. If it works out, like, awesome for all of y'all. However, I just didn't want that. I didn't need that level of risk in my life, personally.
I don't see what people with a top 4 pick in the NFL draft see in Anthony Richardson. That was my point.
But you know how it is with quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It's like you're going top 3 or you're going like 3rd round. It's stupid.
So along those lines of how it is with quarterbacks, what does this game do for the narrative of Bryce versus CJStroud? Because I think it is fair to say they are going to be linked in the mind of the general public for a long time. You
know what I think it should do to anyone who watched it is it should kind of give you a little dose of reality, certainly, I would hope, as to what BryceYoung has been doing.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, literally, there were times where should he have gotten rid of the ball some? 100%. Yes. Like the O-line's bad. Like, you got to make a decision quick or you're getting hit, man. And those hits add up. So maybe get rid of it. Like, whatever. It's fine. But at the same time, like, if you watch that and didn't think like, wow, he has like no time to do anything. And how have they done literally? Oh, wait, they haven't won a game. That makes sense.
Yes.
Like, literally the first drive of the game, I texted you this too. I was like, this is a microcosm of what Bryce's season has been to this point in a sense, because BryceYoung had no shot at making that series viable in any way. Almost from the moment it started, but certainly like on the first play, they let up a sack.
Yeah. Because of our affinity for this team and for BryceYoung, respectively, we have been, I think rightfully, a little bit protective, if not standoffish, of the group that wants to declare that he is a bust already.
I just think I don't like lazy quarterback narratives.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. And I think if you look at this game, not to take away from Bryce's first win and leading a comeback drive, I don't want to do that at all. But on both sides of this game, it was defined by good defenses taking advantage of where the offense's weakness was.
Yeah.
Houston racked up sacks against the Panthers.
Yes.
The Panthers racked up pass breakups against Houston.
Yep.
I mean, I think you have to give the defenses a lot of credit in this game. And even with that said, there will be a segment of the population that now believes Bryce is somehow redeemed from the CJStroud hot start.
Bryce said it himself after the game. He was just like, don't do, like, basically like, we don't play each other. Like, we're not going head to head like this. No, he's a great player. He's had a great, really good year. Like and they're really good friends. Like, they talked for like 10 minutes after the game.
I mean, how many times did we hear, oh, they've been playing each other since 8th grade.
Right. And so like, that was cool to see him like, taking up for his buddy. And he's right. Like, and it would have been true no matter who won, I said that coming into this game. I was like, this is a dumb way to talk about it. They don't play against each other. Like, how about let CJStroud go out there and try getting hit every time he drops back and see how much different he looks than BryceYoung. Like, probably not a whole lot.
I mean, it's also fair to say, like, obviously we're at the beginning of a long journey, probably for both of these guys.
Yeah.
Right?
They're going to have bad games, great games, like everything in between.
And how much of this Panthers offense do you think is going to be there from year to year to year with Bryce going forward? They're going to be pieces.
I hope not as much of it. No.
Right, exactly. They're going to be pieces, but it's probably going to be Ickey Ekwonu. I know. Deep exhale, everybody.
I don't know how to talk about this because I love Ickey so much, and I loved watching that guy in college.
I mean, I'm happy to talk about it because I do not at this point.
I think that there's talk about and there was talk about this when he was drafted, that he's better off at guard. He's better as a run blocker than a pass blocker. And I think you see some of that.
You totally,
play out.
There was a, gosh, I wish I could remember the play, but there was a play where, not Anderson, but the end that was on the other side got around Ickey Ekwonu, and mid-play, Ickey threw his hands up. And that was pure frustration. It was not him not knowing what to do, but he threw his hands up as if, you can't even just take a penalty for a block in the back there to avoid your quarterback getting hit.
Exactly.
If I recall, Bryce got rid of the ball, but he still took a hard hit on that play.
Yeah, and contrast it with Chuba, like throwing his body in harm's way towards the end and just getting absolutely laid out to protect Bryce.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff. I mean, just right in my heart. Like putting his body on the line for him.
I'm glad you said that, Lauren. It was the same play. We're talking about the exact same play. I just forgot the Chuba
Bryce
Hubbard
still
element
got hit, but it would have been worse.
That's one of those plays that you were talking about where you got to get rid of the ball quicker.
Yes, 100%. And Ickey, I think it was Ickey on the first sack of the game. I mean, he got his lunch eaten all day. I mean, this was his worst game I've ever seen him play in the NFL. It wasn't really that close, and it's fine. Like, like we said, Bryce didn't play amazingly either necessarily. I get it, but at the same time, I think it's just frustrating for me and for a lot of people because it's like, this was the first round left tackle pick, and it's not. At least at left tackle, it's not working.
No, he is the reason you felt good about trading up to number one for a franchise quarterback. Yes. You had the tackle in place.
And I don't know, like maybe some people are saying, we've seen the signs since last year. I don't remember. And maybe admittedly, I don't know probably enough about O-line play to be able to diagnose that. But I remember thinking he got better and better as the year went on and being fine with him in the way he was playing. But, it looks like he still can't see people either.
Yes, agreed.
Like the first play, it looked like he lost somebody. Like he wasn't looking at the guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we need to get the sun visor off.
Before we go, and
I don't know if it would help that much though.
And even though I did start this segment out by saying I don't see what people saw in Anthony Richardson to be a top 4 pick in this
I see what they saw. I just don't know why. It's a riskier thing than I would be willing to do personally.
That being said, it is disappointing that we will not see in back-to-back weeks Bryce go against CJStroud and then go against Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
It is the Colts coming up next week. Please be sure and take time to...
FrankReich Bowl.
Oh, I didn't even think about that aspect of it. Oh, you throw out the records.
Colts fans are to the Panthers what the Panthers fans had been to Nebraska before we all just have went away quietly and not saying anything until Matt Rule starts acting like Matt Rule again.
Yeah, well, give it time.
I will. I know.